I know she's there. I'm too old for that.
All right. If you want to get a Bible and turn to Genesis chapter 19, that's where we're going to be this morning. We'll see how far we can get into the discussion here. So we're going through Genesis. One of the things that we pointed out is we want to be as mindful as we can be about the setting of this piece of literature, probably centered around the time of the Exodus. It's traditionally kind of delivered by Moses, and so we've been trying to kind of put ourselves in that setting after 400 years of refuge that turned into slavery in Egypt. Moses is giving this worldview, this picture of the God of creation, and exactly kind of what kind of paradigm that the people should be operating under. And so we've kind of been looking at that right now. Abraham has received the promise. That was chapter 17. Chapter 18, he learns that God is going to destroy Sodom and does his negotiation. That probably sounds to me like he's just asking, aren't there at least 10 people in this city that are worth saving? You wouldn't destroy a whole city and destroy the righteous with the wicked, would you? And God says, no, I wouldn't do that. If there were 10 in this city, I wouldn't destroy it. 10 righteous in this city. So that's kind of where we got to, and we're ready to pick up and see kind of what happens in this on this journey through Genesis. So let's go to God in prayer before we begin our study. Oh God, our Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the blessings of being able to assemble and to meditate on your word, to take a moment and learn a little bit more about your heart, your character, your glory, and to be reminded of the worldview that you have left for us and that you've preserved for us through the revelation of the scriptures, and help us to shape our understanding of the world around us through these words, and to weigh them and consider them carefully, and to help it to shape our journey and our walk. Thank you for loving us so much that you would give us your Son to be our King, to conquer our enemies, and to bring us into your kingdom and into your family, and even into the most holy place where we can come to you in prayer and we can approach your throne boldly because of the sacrifice of your Son. Thank you for all these blessings. May we walk in a manner worthy of them, and we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. And then Odom. Sorry, he looked at me. We made eye contact. And Jesse, would you mind to read verse 16 through 29 after that? Okay.
The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, when are the men who came to you tonight? Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them, but don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. Get out of our way, they replied. This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law or daughters or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. Stop right there.
Yeah, that's good. Pick up at 15, yeah.
And all the angels hurried Lot along, saying, get going, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, else you will be destroyed when the city is judged. And Lot hesitated, and then grabbed his hand in the hands of his wife and two daughters, because the Lord had compassion. They led them away and placed them outside the city. When they had brought them outside, they said, run for your lives. Don't look behind you or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains where you will be destroyed. But Lot said to them, no, please, Lord, your servant has found favor with you, and you have shown me great kindness by sparing my life, but I'm not able to escape to the mountains because this disaster will overtake me and I'll die. Look, this town over here is close enough to escape to, and it's just a little one. Let me go there. It's just a little place, isn't it? Then I'll survive. Very well, he replied. I will grant this request to you and not overthrow the town you mentioned. They're quick. arrived, this incident was claimed by the town was called Sodom. The sun had just risen from his land as Lot reached Sodom, and the Lord rained down sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. It was sent down from the sky. So he overthrew those cities, all that region, including all the inhabitants of the cities and all vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back longing and was turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked out toward Sodom and Gomorrah and all the lands in that region. As he did so, he saw the smoke rising up in the land like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the region, God honored Abraham's request. He removed Lot in the midst of the destruction and destroyed the cities Lot lived in.
Okay, thanks guys for reading. All right, so let's kind of recap what we just read, make sure we catch as many details as we can. So somebody kind of start the summary here, and we'll take it in chunks. So the two angels arrive in Sodom, and what happens next?
The city is trying to take advantage of them, and well, they want to sleep in the square, and I says, no, you better come to my house. This place is kind of dangerous. He gets them to come, and sure enough, the town is trying to get to them, and a crazy exchange takes place where the city or the people are pushing in, and they have to be blinded.
Good. All right.
Even before that, they, Lot invites them in and they stay and feast.
They have a meal, yeah. Good. So Lot takes these men in, shows hospitality toward them, and they share a meal. Good. What else? What other?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it was custom or the time, but I can't imagine what level of fear would have me offer my children over anything really.
Yeah.
But that's, that is still so crazy.
Yeah. So as the men stand outside the door and demand that these visitors be given to them, Lot offers up his own daughters instead, right? Yeah.
Who are also in Mary's room. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Who are also?
They came into my room for protection. It's like, where are your daughters?
Mm-hmm. Right? Not much protection for them. John?
So the gaining lot is at the gate. This is typically a place for the leaders, those of wealth, those that have some authority. So I'm assuming he recognizes them coming in, and those people are sitting. For me, that's relevant. Lot is thinking that way, at least. But at the same time, later, he's obviously not respected by the people of the city as a foreigner in that city. He got a lot of wealth, a lot of material things. I have a funny feeling this community just kind of took that all away from what's left in that kind of the game as a leader, but I think it just took advantage of it.
Yeah, good. So just to recap that, Lot is sitting at the gate, at the gateway, which means he's probably one of the patriarchs, one of the, like he's representing his family in this community. And then when he sees these men, he recognizes them enough, or at least jumps into action to want to give them hospitality and treat them kindly, right? And so that's his knee-jerk reaction when he sees these guys come up. And again, these seem to be the men who were just at Abraham's house, where Abraham fed them and spoke with the Lord. And we kind of talked last week about how it seems like these three men kind of sound like they are representative of the Lord, but then they leave and Abraham's still talking to the Lord. So if Abraham is just praying and in constant communication, or if these three men are somehow angelic visitors. And it says that the angels, and here it's the two angels, arrive at Sodom in the evening. So it's just interesting to see kind of the transition there. What else stood out to you in this? Yeah,
The condition that they couldn't do anything until Lot and his family were safe. They were sticking to that, no compromise. They could do nothing, they couldn't start or do anything until Lot and his family were safe.
good, good. Yep. What else stands out to you?
As they're going back and forth between, at the door, basically, the men inside, then pull Lot back in and basically saying, stop talking, stop this, back and
Yeah.
forth thing. They saved him again.
Right?
So,
Good.
And then struck everybody else with blindness.
Yes. So that reveals the supernatural abilities of these men, that they could strike everyone in the city blind, right? Good. What other details do you find interesting here? Yeah,
Just a
Jason.
little bit about the son, they're the future sons-in-law, and that as he tries to gather them, they kind of scoff at him, and they think he's jesting or he's joking, however that goes down. And I just think back to the previous chapter where he says, if there be this many righteous men in the city. And so, like, I guess I was just kind of like gathering them in my mind and saying, okay, they show that they're not righteous and that they don't believe the warnings and stuff? Is it just like Lot is the righteous focal point of all this, and if you're with him, when he leaves, and you're righteous, otherwise you're with the city kind of thing? Just thinking through some of those things.
Yeah.
And just the overarching, like, I've always kind of viewed this chapter as a chapter on judgment. I think it's a chapter on mercy, and I think we kind of started to point that out on Wednesday, but it's really nailed home today. These guys, they weren't interested, and God tried so hard to show mercy to them. And I feel like he kind of even pulled Lot along, and for sure his wife and daughters. It was not their righteousness that was saving them.
Right.
And Abraham is kind of the Christ figure here, because it's his righteousness really that saves them.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Because it says that God saved them because of Abraham's righteousness.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So what points along the way do you see that mercy? Kind of bring that out. I think that's really good.
Verse 16.
Verse 16.
Lot lingered, and the angel seized him in his family.
Good.
And it made me think, how often do I linger? Question, well,
Mhm.
is it that bad? Can I do something else?
Right. Yeah. Lot is really trying hard to keep peace and try and maintain the status quo here, and he's reluctant to leave.
On that point, I would say when we make decisions in our lives,
Mhm.
just like Lot, we're going to try our best to make the end be a good end from our decision.
Mhm.
It wasn't what it needed to be. It caused him to linger. It caused him to, hey, if there's 50 righteous, can we not destroy this? He's trying to barter with the Lord to make his decision to go there to begin with a good outcome. And so that idea of lingering, that he still had that hope within him. I look at it as Lot was faithful in a very bad area, very bad culture,
Yeah.
or he wouldn't have been brought out.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. So what are some things that you notice about Lot and the contrast he has with everyone else in Sodom and Gomorrah, or in Sodom here? Dawson pointed out that Lot is trying to be faithful to these men. What else do you see? Anything else there?
We all
obviously knows that the behavior in the city is wrong,
Right,
because he wants the men to come in his home and he wants to protect them.
yes,
And then he tries to stand up to the people that, no, you're not gonna do this,
yep, good,
even though his choice with his daughters is.
right, yeah, Jace?
Comparing and contrasting, I agree that, like, obviously he has an idea of this is how the city's gonna react whenever strangers come in. So I think I see that, but then I also see the contrasting of like, it's Lot being selfless and open to the foreigner, the sojourner, et cetera. Like the extreme, like the person you don't know, they're gonna travel through, they're gonna be on their way. And part of it's, yeah, part of it is, I know the wickedness of the city, I need to protect them, but part of it's like, just being open and loving and bringing others in. And then you contrast that with like the very selfish desires of the people, of we're just gonna take advantage of these people. So I see it kind of like on opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah,
And even though like we all look at him offering his daughters up and go, well, that seems really wrong. It's interesting, just like go like, okay, well, I'm so for the stranger and I'm so like giving to them, I'm willing to give my own family. And I'm not saying I advocate for that, but like, it's just interesting to think through, like, where would his mind have been if you're contrasting the people of the city with those actions?
excellent, yeah, what you got?
To his point, even talking about him potentially giving up his own families, 2 Peter 2 talks about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and it says, and he rescued righteous Lot, distressed by the unrestrained behavior of the immoral. For he lived among them, that righteous man tormented himself day by day with lawless deeds he saw and heard. So even like, we look at him and say, wow, how could he do this? God still called him righteous for what he did in his trying to protect the 2 men.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so that's a great passage to highlight the perspective that Lot is considered righteous. One thing that stood out to me was he said that his daughters they were still virgins. They had not known a man, right? So he seems to have brought up daughters in this environment that he had managed to protect and keep pure. And maybe that wasn't their preference. They like foreign men. I don't know. But the fact that here's Lot, who has daughters that he has seemed to have protected and kept pure until this point, and yes, he offers them up, and none of us would offer up our children, but God offered his son to us, for us, right? So yeah, I don't think this is hey, when foreigners come, make sure you offer your daughters to the men if they get riled up. I don't think that's the moral here. I think this is, again, a foreshadowing of the kind of love the Father has toward us, that something terrible like he would rather offer up his own offspring than see these people mistreated, or in our case, just to get what we deserve, right? Yeah, Kim?
I also wonder too, when he went to the son-in-laws, he said, come on up, we gotta go. But if they were part of the men in the square, I don't know if they were, but can you imagine, they just heard their soon-to-be father-in-law offer up their fiancés to these men.
Right?
So I would think that he was joking as well, like, the irony here is.
Yes.
They might have heard.
Interesting. Yeah, what you got?
We just mentioned comparing and contrasting Lot with the people. I think there's an element to how they receive something that God sends to them as well. That's important to know. Lot very clearly recognizes these angels that come from God. And what does he do? He bows to the ground. He said, Lord, I have to receive you. Come into my home. I want to be hospitable. I want to throw a feast for you. And when the people of Sodom realized that, it says every single man, young and old, came to surround his house to abuse these people.
Yeah.
They only thought, oh, we've never had an angel before. Let's all go out there and see if we can do that. And so Lot is very clearly trying to honor what God has sent as well, whereas the people are trying to find a way to defile or take advantage of what God has sent them.
Do you see the gospel overtones there? Like the Jews, God really wanted them to accept his son with open arms, and they rejected. what God sent, right? Yeah, so you got to consider that a lot of these stories are for our benefit, right? They're for our encouragement and for the encouragement of the people that were living when Jesus was walking the earth, trying to show mercy to them and open their eyes. Surely you've read Sodom and Gomorrah, what happened there. And you're going to take what I've sent you and crucify it? Crucify this son of mine that I sent? It will be better for Sodom and Gomorrah than for you, right? Yeah, so I think statements like the young, from the old to the young, like seriously, they're training their young boys that this is the behavior, that this is how you treat foreigners. And that's where I'm like, I think this is the story being told, right? This is the message that Moses is giving them. And I think the point is here, the utter depravity of these men in this environment. Yeah.
Maybe along those lines, as they recall what happened to Egypt, right, and the judgment that was kind of proclaimed upon them. Maybe
Okay.
a connection there as well, to be like, okay, this is a God to be respected, adored, and it's very powerful.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I like to keep, thank you, Jesse, for doing that, to keep putting this, okay, if I'm a Israelite crying out to be rescued from slavery, bondage in Egypt, or I'm walking through the wilderness, whatever the context is here, what am I hearing? How is that shaping the message that Moses is trying to give, right? Yeah, Jen.
In the same vein, twice we hear about the Lord hearing about the outcry.
Yes.
And going to see who was he hearing,
Good.
the people there that were being hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, that is, I feel like that is so good, and I was thinking about that because you can argue that everyone had become kind of institutionalized to this moral behavior. There's something in some people that's like, this is painful and it's not right, and I hate it here. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that it kind of points to that inherent morality that we have. Even
Yeah.
when there's evil circumstances.
Yep. Good. Yeah. If I don't see you, just start talking.
One of the things here too, I'm just thinking about the situation that Lot's in. And like thinking about like our children will eventually have to go out on their own, right? And they'll be faced with choosing a land. And we know Lot, what he saw and why he chose it, that wasn't an inherently bad choice. But as you get into your life, we start seeing, well, the land has been, had war waged over it. He's been abducted. Abraham, came to save him. And now he's clearly knows the ways of this city. So number one, Lot could not be a weak individual, and I mean weak in his training to the Lord's army, and keep a household in this kind of environment for that long. So number one, we have to be equipped because the world won't provide safety for us, right? So we can't be naive in the fact of thinking that we can live in the bubble. And I go back to this quote a lot, but it's like, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. We have to be warriors to fight the things around us. We also have to know when it's time, and that's that maturity, to go, hey, it started out looking like it was going to be a great thing. It's fallen apart. And you have to be strong enough to know when to leave that situation before you perish with it. And so that takes a lot of strength and equipping, not sheltering and just, safety.
Good, yeah. Yeah, and it kind of points some things out about the progression of sin. Because if you compare Lot in chapter 13 to Lot now in chapter 19, living in Sodom and how that has shaped him, it's kind of eye-opening, right? To where he started out like, hey, this looks like some green pastures over here. This is lush. Who wouldn't want to feed their flocks within this lush pasture? To trying to stay and maintain in this terrible city, right? Yeah, Jace?
Comes to mind just real quick in James 1, where I think it's James 1, where he ends up saying, don't let anybody tell you that God's tempting you because it's sin that's leading you down that path, and sin leads ultimately to its ultimate end and conclusion, death. And as we're talking about like the people and the like indoctrination when you're steeped in sin and how it gets worse and worse and worse, and like the environment changes. We talked about in Genesis, there's change in the earth. That's what like Sodom and Gomorrah feels like, kind of a picture of that. Like it's okay, this is right before the destruction comes, and then ultimately like the sin leads to physical death in this instance, but ultimately spiritual death.
Yeah, good. Yep.
Brett, I just think it's worth driving into the ground that Lot would not have chosen to leave. I don't think Lot was looking to leave. I don't think he wanted to leave. And I think that God pulled him out of that.
Yeah.
And in this passage at least, I know that in the New Testament it calls him righteous. In this passage it said it was because of Abraham that he was in the law.
Good, yeah.
Well, so that points also to, when we might say, oh, God, help me out in this situation. It's like, how does he help us out? It's like through each other, right? And so, like, in this instance, it was the two angels that came in, but like, what is it in our instance? Like, that also takes like bravery and maturity of others around to go, hey, you are human, and it's like as well-intentioned as you may think this is, from the outside looking in, we can see what's going on. And this is bad for you. And that's where we have to come in and help each other, because there's times where we're all incapable of seeing what's right in front of us because we've been in it too long. And what the easiest thing we can do is to justify to ourselves how we can come out of this, or how this can turn around, or how whatever. And so, I just think too, when it's like, yes, it's ultimately God saving him, but it's like, we're the agents of Christ,
Yeah.
that are to be the ones helping in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, back in James, James 5, if you turn a sinner from his ways, you have saved his soul. Like, wait, I thought it was Jesus. Well, like you said, we become agents of Jesus when we convince people that this is a path of destruction that they're walking down.
I think another way to see that is that because of Jesus, God remembers us.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah. So Abraham definitely is the Christ figure in a lot of this. And yeah, God when he destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe. Right? So yeah, that's definitely what we're looking at.
And I think of beyond God, or Abraham being the God figure, but I feel like it also reminds us to be careful who we surround ourselves with, that
For sure.
it can be our people around us that can help us see God's signs of that to get out of it.
For sure. Yeah, I heard a quote that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So think about who the 5 people you spend the most time with. And for some of us, that might be people at work, right? That we don't necessarily have a strong choice but we might have just a strong choice as Lot, right? So who do we surround ourselves with, right? That for sure is a lesson here.
This is a tough look into the mirror. But like when I read a story like this, I feel like because we're sitting here on a Sunday morning studying this text, like I feel like we put ourselves in the camp of Abraham or these two men that have come to, it's like we're all Lot at some point in time in this story. So like, let's not get that confused also. Like, it's easy to take the moral high ground, reading a text from above, going, well, I wouldn't have made that decision. I would have blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you wouldn't.
Right.
Because at some point in time, we have all been Lot, and if we weren't, then we're nullifying the blood of Christ.
Good point. Hit Galatians there. Good job. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Whether in like straight reality, like we are Lot, or in the analogy, in the gospel analogy, we are Lot, right? And we have to see ourselves as the one needing snatched from the corruption that we are choosing. Yeah, Jim.
So just tagging on with what you just said, the way that Lot protected the two angels, we should be looking out for each other in that way. And I know we've kind of said that, but like that was a fierce protection.
Yeah.
Serving, rejoicing, weeping, like caring deeply, as he did for strangers.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Yeah, this definitely shows that we, even broken people, have the capacity to be an encouragement and to help others, right? Even though we ourselves need saving, we can help others come along with us, right? And yeah, really good.
The thing that kind of sets a little different with me here is looking at verse 10. And it says, but he lingered. So the man seized him and his wife and 2 daughters. So that's the angel seizing him. Look, the Lord's being merciful here. Let's go. You got to go now.
Right.
Quit your him hauling around. Let's go. I just find it interesting that, to someone's point a minute ago, Lot may not have been believed, okay? But the Lord sent his people to save.
Yeah.
Times or you're going to be lost right with all of them, because all that plays right into this. Oh, there's 50 righteous, there's 40 righteous, there's 30, all the way down. How many did he find? 4, actually 3.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
When it came down to it.
Yeah. That didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it kind of plays into that, the gate is narrow.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it also points to, like, you think about other accounts, like the children of Israel, right? After the Exodus, they find themselves in a wilderness, which ended up being worse in the immediate than the tyranny that they came from, because at least the tyranny was predictable. And it's like, well, at least we had a meal.
Right?
At least we knew what to expect, and now we are in the wide open where it's like there is no direction, there is no certainty, and that creates a different kind of fear than even the tyranny that they were in. And so it's like we can get so comfortable to the predictability of our situation that we are slack to move.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep asking myself, like, what in the world did Lot see in this? Like, who would continue to choose to live in a place this depraved, right? And I think that's kind of what you're hitting at. Like, this had to be comfortable somehow. There had to be something about this. Hey, they enjoyed the cuisine, or man, they're just these lush pastures. I don't know, like, hey, there's nowhere better to have a flock of, or for my livestock to live. This is the best place. I don't know what could have done it. Yeah.
I think to that point, it also parallels with our lives of how we can convince ourselves to be comfortable living in a situation like that. Like where we talk about 2 Peter, it says he tormented himself. He chose to do this and was tormenting himself by it. How often do we in our lives make excuses for how close we are to living within that sin, accepting it, and making the excuse like, well, it's okay because of X. And then in the end, it came back to bite him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and who knows, maybe it was stubbornness. Like we talked about how Abraham says, if you go left, I'll go right. If you go right, I'll go left. And Lot goes, I'm going east. And so maybe he's just like, no, I chose east. I'm going to make this work. And he's just not going to give in. I don't know. Maybe there's some pride and stubbornness in there.
A lot of times, I think we wait till we are redeemed enough to ask for help. Or we wait till we're whole enough to help somebody else. And when we wait for those, I think it was Jesse a couple classes ago said that when we're in need, that's an opportunity for our brothers and sisters to serve us. And, you know, when I think back on my life and the way I was raised in the church, a lot of my mindset was I had to get here before I could even go to God. I could go and ask for help. And I think right here, Lot being seized, his wife who ended up turning to salt, still being pulled out of that city, shows that God's like, please, come.
Yeah.
Take the steps.
Yeah.
Even I dragged you the first 3. Can you take the next?
Right.
And who has he got standing right beside me that I'm not seeing going, my hand's right here?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yep.
And I think it goes back to what we talked about before. It's the monster you know versus the monster you don't know. And it takes faith to choose the monster you don't know. And I do think that this shows the amount of faith that Lot had.
Yeah. Good. Jesse?
Listening to both of those are really, I'm continually impressed with the fact that God gave us to also be parents, because so many of these things are like just a direct analogy to how he feels about us. Whenever I doubt how he feels about me, I can turn around and go, I would do the same thing if I saw my child. I can't make the decision for them, but I can, you know, just loving compassion and mercy, like, get you out of this, you know, this bad. I kind of want to stay.
Yeah.
But I love how he allows us to really understand the way he feels about us.
Yeah. And the self-restraint that we exercise to not push our children away trying to drag them along. Right? So yeah, like, man, I really want to just drag them right over here, but I think that makes that when they get there, they'll just run further, you know? So yeah, it's interesting to see all those components for sure.
Well, then that just, I know, like thinking about the prodigal son, right? What was the job of the parent? It's like, you figure this out, I will always be here upon the return, and it's not gonna be the questions asked, there's not gonna be the scolding, it's gonna be the rejoicing of a heart that is turned back. And it's like, I will be there ready with the fatted calf upon the return.
Yeah.
But that comes with pain, right? Much patience and an unknowing of if you will turn.
Right.
And he still let him go, because it's like, even with our faith, if we don't make it our own, what is it worth?
Right.
And so I think that kind of then just goes back to the leading up of the training, starting young, so that you're equipped to help make these decisions in the rough waters of life.
Yeah, very good, yeah. Yep, Lucy and then Dawson.
I feel like if we try to be an angel for others, trying to help seize them out of their hesitance, that we have to be careful, because it reminds me of Jude 23, where it says, save others by snatching them out of the fire. But I remember talking about it where we have to try to snatch them out of the fire, but if we try to drag them too far and we're not spiritually ready for that, we might get caught in the fire as well. So if we want to try to save others from the fire, we might need to recruit help from other people who have that, have the raw meat no longer and have that spiritual strength to help out.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there's the whole Galatians 6, like, you who are spiritual, restore that one with a spirit of gentleness, but be careful lest you yourself be tempted, right? This idea of there's a danger in, and a risk in trying to bring people back. Dawson, last word.
Quick observation. There's obviously different levels of faithfulness. Even in God's saying that Abraham was faithful, Lot was faithful. When you look at the instructions given to Abraham to go to where he didn't know where he was going, and he just went. And then you look at here, Lot was told to go to the hills. Oh, but no more. No, let me go to this little city over here.
Right.
And the Lord allowed.
He hasn't learned his lesson yet, has he?
There's a difference. in
Your
the
choices
level-
are terrible, Lot.
The level of faithfulness, there's different ones that the Lord sees in each one of us.
Yeah,
How many of us would do that same thing to Cole's point earlier, make the same decision? Well, no, Lord, I want to stay here close. I want to go over here. Rather than going to the hills where I don't know what the monster that we were talking about a minute ago.
That we don't
know
know.
that monster
yeah.
and how to deal with it.
But the one who's telling you go there knows, and so just follow him, right? Good. Yeah, so we talked about how the big point of this chapter is not how terrible Sodom is, but rather how just God is. So the fact that this teaches us that God knows how to rescue the godly while judging the evil. And sometimes we wonder, what's God going to do with these people over here that have never heard the gospel? Or what's God going to do with these people? God is just, and we can take comfort in that. I can't answer all the questions about judgment, but I do know that God knows how to rescue the godly while judging the evil. Rescue those who have trusted in him. So, all right. Wednesday is the first Wednesday of the month, so we've got that, but we'll pick up next Sunday with our Genesis study.
No, I just like